Hello everyone and welcome to my yet another exciting video on a different topic today. Now my dear friends, today I'm going to start off with a different topic, a new topic rather. Last turn we talked about a lot of things related with training and development. I'm sure you are well equipped with the concepts of training and development now. The topic that I'm going to start off today is known as performance appraisal. Performance appraisal is a part of the larger management part of the performance management system. And this is one of the very important function which is performed by the HR department. So let's proceed with this. Now, performance appraisal is nothing but is just a systematic way of appraising one's performance. And why do we appraise the performance of anybody? Simple reason is because we want to know the purpose for which the person was recruited in the company, whether the person has been able to live up to the expectation of the company or no. If the person has been able to live up to the expectation of the company, then the decisions would be taken accordingly. The main purpose of performance appraisal to assess that whether the person has been able to live up to the expectations of the company or no. If the person has been able to live up to the expectations of the company, then the person is automatically given some kind of increment, bonus or increments are given to the person. But on the other hand, if the person has not been able to live up to the expectation of the company, then another chance is given to the person to prove themselves or to prove their mettle. So, what we say is that performance appraisal is nothing but is just a method to assess the working of the employee and to check whether the person has able to achieve the target that was set by the company. So, as you can see on the screen also, performance appraisal is nothing but is just a process of understanding their employees better and giving them the feedback to help them improve their performance. While several employees find performance appraisal to be unnecessary if done right, it can have several benefits for the organization. Let us learn more about the performance appraisal in HR. Now, performance appraisal in HR is a process of analyzing the employee's worth. Employee's worth, basically it means we are identifying the purpose, the way the person has been recruited in the company, the way he has been selected, the way he has been given the training to perform a particular task, to what a level the person has been able to live up to that, as well as the contribution to the job. So, in a nutshell, the third point, as you can see, that the performance appraisal are used for an employee's development. It helps the management to make decisions. This is rightly said here, that it is used for the decision making. Now, when we are talking about decision making, decision of what? Simple concept, decision to make, decision related with the increment, decision related with promotion, decision related with transfers, and decision related with whether the person has to be kept in the company or retained in the company, or whether the person has to move out of the company. If a person is a consistent performer, he is a stellar or she is a stellar, then definitely the person stays in the company and the company adopts retention strategies, because the productivity of the company will definitely go up with his or her presence, and the vice versa. So, this is basically a systematic approach which gives an insight into their current capabilities and whether they have the scope to learn and grow, whether they are where they actually currently stand. What is the current situation of the employees? Then it is said, lastly, the entire performance appraisal process can be formal or informal depending on the call of the HR department it takes. That means decisions regarding the format of the appraisal are entirely dependent upon the particular organization. That means there is no specific format or a tailor-made format for performance appraisal. It is again the prerogative of the company to take a decision. What kind of appraisal do they want to have? Whether they want to have it a formal one, whether they want to have an informal one. If it is the formal one, then what is the process or what is the format? Everything is all set by the company. And if it is informal, then people basically don't even come to know that their performances, they are being evaluated also. So, in a nutshell, performance appraisal is a systematic way of evaluating one's capability, understanding how the person has done in the previous time period, or whether the person has the capability to learn and improve or no. So, according to Flippo, performance appraisal is a systematic, periodic and impartial rating. Now, this word, my dear students, is very important, impartial training, because anything which is very partial, then definitely it will lose its essence. Impartial rating of an employee's excellence in matters pertaining to his present job and his potential for a better job. Potential for a better job basically means if a person is being given training in any regard, whether the person will be able to perform better or no. Then, in the case of consensus performance appraisal, as I told you, it's a process. Please understand, it's a process. There are different steps which are involved in the performance appraisal. whereby we collect the data, we have the information, we analyze it, and then we actually find out the relative worth of an employee. If the employee is worth enough to be retained in the company, then the retention strategies are adopted. Then it is a systematic examination of the employee's strength and weakness in terms of a job. Everyone has certain strengths and weaknesses, so we have to identify what are the strengths of the person and what are the ways in which he can contribute to the productivity of the company. So definitely it helps us to identify that also. And in case of the weaknesses, it is always said that, we should always try to overcome the weaknesses. So if we are able to identify the weakness of the employer or employee, I stand corrected, if we are able to identify the weakness of the employees, then the corrective action can be taken, and then the decision can be taken how we can overcome those problems if the person is very, very productful. Then it is a scientific and objective process. It's a continuous process. Why? Because the company continues with its operation. People, they keep on coming, they keep on going. And then performance appraisal, it all depends upon the company whether this performance appraisal is being taken at which level, whether it's 6 monthly, half, or maybe in 15 days, in 1 month, in a quarter, or maybe in 6 months. It's again the call of the company to make a decision on that. Then the main purpose of it is to secure information necessary for making objective and correct decisions on the employees. Now, when I talk about correct decision, it basically means whether the people have to be promoted, whether they have to be demoted, or the increments have to be given, benefits have to be given or no. It's all the decision that the company has to make. And how the company will decide? Naturally, the company will make a decision on the basis of the performance that the person has given over a period of time. Then what is the uses of performance appraisal? Now, performance appraisal provides very valuable information for personnel decision. Please understand the personnel decision. It is again related with the employees, such as the increase in pay, promotion, training and termination. So, naturally, if a person is performing well over a period of time, so everybody wants some reward and recognition. That is a very natural instinct of a person. So, one of the ways of rewarding the person is that the person may be promoted, he may be given more increments, he may be given some better incentives, or maybe some better facilities, or maybe some better fringe benefits, so on and so forth. Or there can be at times, there can be some job enrichment also. So, definitely one of the uses of performance appraisal is that it helps us to identify that whether the person has to be given these things or whether the person is not need to be provided with such things. Second, it helps to judge the effectiveness of the recruitment, selection, placement and orientation of the company, naturally. Now, we all know it's a very time-consuming process. The entire process of recruitment, selection, training and induction, everything, it requires a lot of time, money, energy is needed to perform all these activities. So, if we have got the right set of people in the organization, we can come to know with the help of their performance appraisal. Because if the performance is good, if the people have been able to live up to if the people have been able to achieve what the company wanted them to achieve, then that means the recruitment process and the selection process has been good enough by the company. The third point that you can see on the screen is all related with the, it helps to improve the performance through appropriate feedback. Now, my dear friends, you have to understand what is the meaning of feedback. Feedback is something where you are being given an honest information about your performance. There can be two kinds of feedback. One is positive and one is negative. So, if it's a positive feedback, then definitely it can be given in front of everyone. But however, if it is a negative feedback, then it should be given in private, and one has to bear in mind that the person should not feel offended with the comments of the senior or supervisor. So, performance appraisal, one of the biggest uses of performance appraisal is that it helps to get us the feedback. So, at times there are people who take this feedback in a very positive manner and sometimes they take it in a negative manner. So, how you do to take it in a positive manner is like something if your supervisor is telling you or counseling you or guiding you or directing you, it should be taken in the right perspective, and then it all depends upon the employee that how he improvises upon the advice that has been given to him or her by his or her supervisor. So, feedback is a very, very important word which is used in the case of performance appraisal. Then it facilitates the human resource planning, career planning. Reason why? Because we can come to know who are the people who would be retained in the company. We can get the bird's eye view, who are the people who will be retained in the company and who will be the people who will be shown the exit gate. So accordingly, the planning can be done. Okay, in near future we will be requiring so many people, or with the career planning. Okay, Mr. X is good enough, Mr. Y is good enough. Okay, they will be promoted to this position and they would be getting better salary. Then that vacancy will fall vacant, and then the person can be different people can use to fill up those vacancies. Then it promotes a very competitive spirit to improve performance. This is a very important point. Reason being, because in every organization, it's important that there has to be a healthy kind of competition. So a healthy competition will only exist when people take things in the right perspective. So it's like it's a very positive environment is there, that okay, Mr. X is performing well, and then Mr. Y also feels motivated. Okay, I should also perform well. Mr. X has been awarded in such a manner, so even if I perform good, I will also get rewarded in that manner. Then systematic appraisal of performance helps to develop confidence amongst the employees. Reason why confidence? Because it all depends upon the decisions. If the decisions are positive, if the decisions are positive, then naturally people will feel very happy and confident, and they will be motivated or their morale will be very high for better performances. Then it says that there is a 4-phase model of performance appraisal. In the case of this 4-phase of model, the first one is that it talks about is the performance planning. Again, it is from my own book, and it says that in this stage, what happens is that there are a lot of long discussions and the sessions are there, where discussions are made that what the person will achieve over the period of some time period, maybe 1 year or maybe 6 months. And how the person will do the job, and what are the kind of behavior and the competencies the organization expects its members to have. So this is basically the phase of planning. Planning is basically deciding what has to be achieved. What has to be achieved. So again, that is a decision taken by the management. So here again they talk about the achievement, they talk about the targets that have to be fulfilled, what are the competencies, what are the capabilities that one should have. Then the second one, it talks about the performance education. Now performance education, it says that here in this the manager or the supervisor will provide coaching and feedback to the individuals to increase their probability of success. So in the case of execution, the execution has to be perfect, because on the basis of execution only the results would be analyzed. So definitely the manager or the supervisor will create the condition that motivates and it resolves the performance problem that may arise during the course. So the best possible efforts would be made by the management to overcome the hindrances or the bottlenecks that one faces. And here in the case of execution also, they will be meeting very frequently. Then the individual's performance will be reviewed, and then it would be seen that whether they are in the right direction or no, whether they are against the plans and goals that they have discussed, or they are in with the sync with that. So performance execution is basically a kind of a guidance and the direction which is given by the management or the superiors to the individual people, and then an eye is always kept on their performances. Then the third one is basically the assessment. Now assessment, it talks about that as the time for the formal performance appraisal nears, as it is approaching, the manager will always reflect on how well the subordinate has performed over the course of the year, and the manager would assemble the various forms and the paperwork that the organization provides to make this assessment. And here also the manager may recommend a change in the individual's compensation based on the quality of the individual work. So assessment is basically the kind of work the person has done, and then the actions can be taken. Now here one has to bear in mind that the completed assessment form is usually reviewed and approved by the appraiser's boss. So whosoever is the immediate boss of the person, he or she will be doing the entire task of assessment. And lastly, it talks about the performance review. Here the manager and the subordinate will meet usually face to face across table, and then the manager will tell about the person, the manager will tell how the person has performed over the period, and whether the performance is satisfactory or whether it is not satisfactory. and at times there may be a lot of individual variations also at this point of view. Somebody believes that okay, the person has performed well, and on the other hand the person feels that okay, no, the person has not performed well. So here this is like review is like both of them, they are sitting face to face, they are discussing things. Okay, how has the person done, and what kind of expectations again the person has, to what an extent the person has been able to achieve the target, so on and so forth. So this is actually the 4-phase model of performance appraisal that talks about the planning, it talks about the education, it talks about the assessment, and it talks about the review. One has to bear in mind that in the case of performance appraisal, there are ideally 3 people. One is the rater, the person who is going to appraise. One is the ratee, that is the person whose performance is getting evaluated. And lastly, there is a concept which is known as the rating. So rating is basically the entire process of performance appraisal is known as rating. So at any point of time, if you come across these words, you should not get confused. So this was actually the 4-phase model of performance appraisal. Now it says that when we are having a performance appraisal, so a performance appraisal is basically a systematic way of actually assessing the performances, or seeing whether the plan goals and objectives and they have been achieved or no over a period of time. So at times by focusing on the attention of the performances, performance appraisal goes to the heart of the personnel management and reflects the management's interest in the progress of the employees. So in the case of appraisal, what is more important is that there should be kind of mutual trust, that okay, both the rater and the ratee, they should treat each other, there should be some kind of trust, there should not be any kind of partiality that should be done, everything should be very fair and transparent. Then the objective should be very clear, the objectives of performance appraisal should be very clear, that it is for the purpose of making a decision on the employee, whether the person has to be promoted, whether the person has to be given increments, so on and so forth. Or on the flip side, whether the person has to be terminated or his increments they have to be withheld, so on and so forth. Then one of the essential of the effective performance appraisal is that there is a criteria, form and procedure and techniques. Whenever we have a performance appraisal, my dear friends, generally what happens is in most of the organization, there is a self-appraisal form that has to be filled in by the employees. In that self-appraisal form, it is not only related with the targets that the person has to achieve, but there are other elements also which have to be taken into consideration, which are known as KPI, key performing indicators. So anything related with their behavior, anything related with their teamwork, anything related with their attendance, anything related with their discipline, all these things they are evaluated. It's just not the target that one is aimed at. So these are the other things that have to be taken into consideration while we evaluate the performance of the individuals. Then training to the evaluator, the person who is evaluating, the rater, he or she should also know what are the aspects that he has to take into consideration. Then focus on the job related behavior and performances. Now job related behavior, it could be related with the teamwork, it could be related with the communication, it could be related with absence, it could be related with punctuality, so on and so forth. Then documentation, proper documentation have to be maintained by the people. Now like in my future lectures, I will be discussing about the various methods of performance appraisal. There you would come to know that there can be different kind of methods that can be adopted to check the performance of an individual. So everything has to be in black and white. So therefore it says that the documentation has to be perfect. Then the feedback and the participation. This is a word, feedback, which you cannot separate it from performance appraisal. Because as I told you that feedback is always given by the manager or the superior or the head to the individual employee, stating how the conditions are or how the performance of the person is, and whether the person is in the right direction of achievement of the predetermined goals of the company or no. So feedback has to be given by the rater to the ratee, so that the corrective actions can be taken. So this feedback could be positive also, it could be negative also. If it is positive, then everything is good. And if it is negative, then person has to give that negative feedback in person, and the caution has to be maintained that the person should not feel offended in any regard. Then diagnose the individual differences. We have to identify what are the different strengths and the weaknesses of the people, and how these people, they can be more beneficial to the company. Then we have got something known as the post-appraisal review interview also, where the informal discussions is done between the rater and the ratee, and then the review is done and the appeal is made. That review is then okay whether the performance is good or whether the performance is not good. So definitely action has to be taken on the basis of the things that are given. Then it says that what are the objectives of the performance appraisal? As I told you, one of the biggest objective of performance appraisal is to provide the feedback regarding the performance, how the person has performed over a period of time. Then promotional decision, it could be related with your transfers, it could be related with your promotion, it could be increments, or maybe the salary, or maybe the benefits. All those decisions, they are taken on the basis of the work that has been done by the person. And if the performance appraisal is good enough, if the person has performed good over the period of time, then definitely it is a positive sign for everyone. And we have to bear in mind that learners will always learn, and those people who are weak at something, so they will always learn to improvise on their weaknesses so that they can perform better in the coming days. Then it talks about the downsizing decision. Now, performance appraisal system is quite helpful in deciding who would get promoted or laid off, or because it is because of the financial decisions that a company has to downsize. So one has to be very careful if there is a kind of a retrenchment or termination has to take place. So very careful analysis has to be done in that regard also. And performance appraisal system also helps us in deciding that the most productive and the efficient people are to be retained in the organization. One has to bear in mind the key point of performance appraisal is that performance appraisal help us to identify between the productive and the unproductive employee, or the efficient and the inefficient employee. So those people who are quite productive and efficient, they are the ones who have to be retained in the company for future productivity, and the other one they have to leave the company, because we have to understand there is a lot of financial burden on the company which has to be borne by the company again, because the company is shelling on an employee, like in terms of salary, in terms of benefit, lot of things are being provided by the company. So the company is very, very careful, and the company will always try to cut corners, and the company will always aim that there should not be any kind of loss or damage done to the company in respect of any kind of production or equipment, or maybe by the employees. So the most productive and the efficient people, they have to be retained in the company, and one of the best ways of making a decision on that is related with the performance appraisal. Then another objective of performance appraisal is all related with the motivating the performances. So definitely it helps us to identify the gray areas or the weaknesses of the people, and then the motivation can be given to them to perform better in the next tenure, or maybe in coming weeks or in coming months. Then it talks about the motivating superior performances, like performance appraisal subsystem actually motivates the employees for superior performances. It helps the employees to learn what is superior in their organization and then work towards it. So they are always aiming that, okay, how I can best contribute to the success of the company, and it is also said that performance appraisal encourages employees to avoid being stigmatized as inferior performance. So they don't want to get that tag, okay, the person has performed average, or the person is quite worse. So they do not want to get those tags. So that is why they get motivated to perform better in the coming time. Then another objective is the benchmarking and measuring the goals. Now benchmarking is basically for superior performances. Benchmarking is one of the most important aspects of the management process, and it ensures that the benchmarks are set and achieved too. So benchmarking is basically nothing but it's more of the setting of the standards. So people, they should know what we are supposed to achieve. For example, if the company says that, okay, the sales figure have to be 5 lakh rupees per month. So this is the benchmark that has been set by the company, that okay, this month the target is of 5 lakh rupees. Then it helps in the counseling the poor performances. As I told you, that performance appraisal help us to demarcate between the efficient and the inefficient employees. So definitely we can come to know who are the poor performers, and then the action can be taken related to them. Then decision regarding the compensation changes. Now definitely if the person is performing nice, or the person's performance is good enough, then definitely there would be a change in the compensation package also, maybe in terms of salary, increments, benefits, fringe benefits, so on and so forth. So it encourages coaching and mentoring. So when we are talking about the coaching and mentoring, definitely it's like more of the guiding part or counseling the people to perform better. Because a company will give you 1 chance, 2 chances, 3 chances, but the 4th time if you are a non-performer, definitely the company will show you the exit gate. So the company is not that okay, in just 1 quarter only the company will chalk you out of the company. No, it's not like that. The company will also give you some time to prove your mettle, because a lot of time has been spent by the company on the recruitment selection and the training and the induction part. So definitely efforts are taken that some time is given to the person to prove his or her mettle also. Helpful in the manpower planning also, it says that well-managed organizations regularly assess their bench strength to make sure that they have the talent in their ranks and they will need for the future. So in the case of manpower planning also, the companies need to determine who and where are the most talented members are, or who are the most talented members who have to be retained and those who have to be shown the exit gate. So because at times the performance appraisal system also helps in the identification of the departments where there is scarcity of some good talent and where there are good people. So it's a kind of a tool which the company has in order to identify what would be the future manpower requirements will be. Then it talks about the determining individual training and the development needs. So here performance appraisal system helps us to identify the poor performers. So thus once we have identified the poor performers, we know who are the people who have to be given more of the training and development part or program has to be initiated for them. So definitely if training and development programs are initiated, so definitely it will enhance the KSA. If you all remember, KSA is nothing but knowledge, skills and abilities of the person. So how do we identify that who are the people who have to be trained? So performance appraisal is one of the ways by which we can make this identification. Then it talks about the confirming of the hiring decision. Performance appraisal system actually helps the company to decide to what the next hiring decisions would be, or to make a decision that okay, the people who have been recruited in the company, whether they were the right set of people or not. So if the people are performers, that means okay, the hiring decisions, they were good enough. And if the wrong set of people, if they have entered the organization, that means something somewhere has gone wrong in the case of hiring decisions. So the next chart that you see on the board is again taken from my book only, and it shows the relationship between the performance appraisal with job analysis. We all know that we have already talked about the job analysis part. Job analysis is nothing but it talks about the description and the specification. So here we talk about the job description. Okay, what are the duties and the responsibilities that the one has to undertake, and what would be the minimum criteria for the person to be fulfill to be eligible for a job. So with the help of job analysis, we are able to identify the standards. Okay, the person has to work here, the person has to work during the daytime, or what are the hazards, which are the tools and machineries on which the person has to work, what kind of supervision the person has to work under, all those things. So with the help of job analysis, the standards are actually set. So once the standards are set, people know that okay, what I am supposed to perform. And it says that converts job requirement into acceptable and unacceptable level of performances. So this is actually, it will come from the job analysis. So because of the job analysis, we are able to identify the standards, and it is on the basis of the standards that the performance appraisal will be done. And one of the biggest objective of any performance appraisal is to make a decision regarding different aspects of the company. So it's all mentioned also that it describes the strengths and weaknesses, abilities and the competencies of the employee in relation to the job. Then it says, now this is a very, very important concept, my dear friends. Please do concentrate on this slide of mine. It talks about the elements of a performance appraisal form. As I told you, in all the organization or in most of the organization, people are asked to fill up the self-appraisal forms. So these self-appraisal forms, they are on the various parameters. So it talks about the elements that are a part of the performance appraisal form. Let's have a look at it. The first one is the elements. It has got the assessment details. It has got the strength and weaknesses, achievement and reviews. So definitely, if once anybody is filling up the self-assessment form, people will talk about their respective strength and weaknesses, or the what kind of target they have achieved, whether they are happy, whether they are not happy. They will give a review about themselves. It is not only your self-review, but the review of the immediate manager, or maybe the review of the HR manager. So it's a systematic process. There are different steps which are involved, which one has to follow. Only then the decision is taken on the promotion or termination part of the employees. The second one, it talks about the KPI, that is the key performing indicators. So key performing indicators is like we have to identify that okay, how whether the customers they were happy with you, whether the employees they were happy with you, the management, the technology, the fairness, the team skills, supervision, how was your coordination, how was the discipline, how was the attitude, behavior, attendance, all those things they have to be taken into consideration. So it is just not the financial targets that the company is aiming at. You have to prove in all the aspects. So it's all the behavioral aspects also that are taken into consideration while we go for performance appraisal. Then there are different equations set to find out the different assessment level. Then the gradings are done whether the person is good, outstanding, or it needs improvement. So if anybody gets needs improvement, that means the appraisal is not good enough. But if it is outstanding, that means the person is a stellar and the person has performed very well over the period of time. Then growth and development, whether the person has shown growth over the period of time, whether the signs of improvement are there or no. So all those things are also checked. Then achievement of the ratee. So definitely anything which anyone has achieved over a period of time, the person will be very, very happy to jot it down in the appraisal form. So that is also one of the criteria to check whether the person is good enough or no. Then the review is done. Recommendation is done in terms of the promotion, as I told you, in terms of salary, increments, transfer, demotion, termination, extension of the probation work. Now probation work is basically where people have to work maybe for 3 months, 6 months or 1 year to prove their mettle. So the decision can also be taken on the basis of the work which has been done, that okay, whether the probation period has to get extended or whether it is good enough, and the person can be given a confirmation letter. Then there are certain remarks by the director or the signing authority. So once you have filled up your own form, so everybody will be boosting about themselves, but it is just your supervisor or immediate boss who will tell you that okay, to what an extent you have performed nicely. And then there would be the HR comments, and then on the basis of those HR comments, the decision would be taken. And these decisions, please mind it, they will be on these parameters only, that whether the person has to be promoted, demoted, transferred, terminated, or the increments have to be given, or the extension work has to be done, so on and so forth. So, my dear friends, this is the example of the appraisal form, again from my book only. So just have a look at this appraisal form. This is of a staff. So you have got the name of the person, department, appraising, period, designation, and it says that please note the instructions are given how you are supposed to work. So the first one is all related with the job. Please understand it is not only related with the financial targets that the company will judge your performance. There are other things also that they would be taken into consideration while the company makes a decision on the promotion or increments or so on and so forth. So it is like job knowledge, for example, 20 marks. So it's like depth of working knowledge, self-appraisal. How many marks would you give? So somebody would say, okay, I will give 3 marks. But if it goes to the HOD says, okay, now the person has good knowledge, I will give you 4 marks. And management feels, okay, on the basis of this, the person can be given 4 marks. Or again, it's the call of the management. Does he knows the operation of the requirement and machines related to his job? Does he have enough knowledge to do the present job? So please understand, these are the minute things that are also taken into consideration while your performance is being appraised. The second one, supervision, for example. So supervision, again, the maximum marks. See, all the instructions are given. The person has to fill up the form accordingly. For example, nothing can slip away from his eyes in the workplace. So naturally, you yourself is going to say, okay, how careful you are with a particular task. And of course, your HOD will also tell you whether you are good enough or no. Making plans and implementation as per the requirement. Remember previous history, or misunderstanding things often and confusing others also. See, look at the minute things that are taken into consideration when your performance is being appraised. Then next is your all related with the team skills. Again, the marks are given. Quarreling with some employees. If you have ever engaged yourself in any of the quarreling activity, then that would also get reflected in your appraisal form. Criticisms the other employees always have, or how does he feel in groups? Can he give any new idea when he is in a team? So again, the team building skills, they are analyzed, because just not the financial targets that one has to achieve. So it's again the how well you coordinate with the others, how well you coordinate with your colleagues, superiors, subordinates. So all those things that they also can't taken into consideration when your performance is being appraised. Then the coordination part, how does he coordinate? 1 mark. So if you know that, okay, I am a person who gets along with people, then you can give 1 mark. HOD can also give you 1 mark. Then the management can also give you 1 marks. Then how are your interpersonal skills with the other, whether you are good enough to get along with people, are you able to synchronize the efforts of the others or no, so on and so forth. Then look at this, this all related with the problem solving. So like watching his subordinates activities and problems, if any, created by them, solved by him. So how active are you in solving the problems at any point of time related with the department or related with the particular machine or with your colleague? Identify the bad elements and keep them away from the important roles. Managing the workers' problem at the shop level itself. All those things are taken into consideration, and then the instructions are given that how many marks are you supposed to give yourself, and then the marks would be given by the HOD also. Then the machines, whether you have got good knowledge about the machines or no, or you know thoroughly about the capacity or how the machine has to be taken care of, or what are the ways to work on a particular machine, so on and so forth. Then look at this last point, behavior. So it's not only the machine, it's not only the teamwork, it's not only the problem solving skills that are appraised, but it is also related with the behavior, like unnecessary argument with superiors. So no superior would like that their subordinate should argue. So at any point of time, if you have argued, or if there's a word which is known as the insubordination. So insubordination is like basically when you fail to honor the instructions of your superior. So that is a kind of a misconduct which is done. So at any point of time, if you have done, so that would definitely get reflected in your appraisal form. Then spreading rumors or maybe accepting work in case of other employees' absence. So how willing you are to accept, whether you are helpful or no. So these are the things which can also give you good points. Obey to superior orders or instructions. So how frequently you have been obeying to his or her instructions. Then look at this, it's all related with the discipline part. Follow the rules and regulation, not in a position to remind him often about the discipline. If a person himself is very disciplined, then definitely it would get reflected in its productivity. Please understand. And if it is not, then it will get reflected in its poor productivity. Then aptitude for learning. Whether the person has the aptitude to learn new things, to work on new machinery, or so on and so forth. The attendance part, whether the person is quite regular in his job or no. Taking leave without the knowledge of the superior and then requesting them to approve for the leave. Look at this. So minutely things are taken into consideration when the performance is being appraised. That okay, if you are taking a leave also, whether you have given a application beforehand, in case if you have not given the application and then you are requesting the supervisor to sanction it later on. So minutely, it's very meticulously planned, and it's a very, very tedious process, whosoever is actually appraising the performance. Or maybe the unauthorized absence, or ignore in applying the leave. So it all these things, they reflect about the behavior and the action part of the employee. So please understand, I am reiterating myself that it's just not related with the target achievement, but it is other things also that are taken into consideration, and these are the things which are known as the KPIs, that is your key performing indicators. They can be in form of supervision, it can be in form of communication, in terms of your team building, in terms of your discipline, absence, all those things we have just discussed. So if you are working in any organization, please be very, very careful that your performance is not only being checked on the work which you are doing, but there are other things also that are taken into consideration in terms of your behavior, in terms of your team building, in terms of your absence, or in terms of your helpful nature, coordination, communication, all those things they are taken into consideration. So look here, it's all the, this is the end of the self-appraisal form, that okay, there's a signature, then the HOD will be giving the remarks, and then the marks which you have actually scored, that would reflect, and the marks which have been given by the HOD and the management. Then it will go to the HR department, and then it will go to the management, and then the real ball lies in the hands of the management regarding the decisions of promotion, termination, or maybe transfers, so on and so forth. So this is all I wanted to give you, the introduction about the performance appraisal. So I'm sure by this time you know very well that what is the meaning of performance appraisal, what are the objectives of the performance appraisal, or what are the aspect or the key performing indicators on which the person's performance is actually evaluated. So this is all here, as I told you, these are the things which are a part of the appraisal forms: the designation, the purpose, the relationship, so on and so forth. So thank you so much, my dear friends, for watching this video. Stay tuned for another topic on performance appraisal. We shall be discussing other things related with the performance appraisal in my next video. Thank you so much.